Again, thank you everyone for attending. This is being live streamed over Facebook. And for our Spanish-speaking residents, the form in its entirety will be translated after the live stream, and we'll be uploading it to the social media pages this evening after we do a translation.
Could I say that in Spanish maybe so that they know?
Can you?
Yeah.
That'd be great.
How do I turn off everybody else's video?
Buenas tardes a todos, gracias por estar aquí. Nomás les avisamos que todo esto va a estar transmitido en español en otro video separado para los que no hablan inglés. Así que nomás les avisamos que todo esto va a estar transmitido y lo vamos a subir a Facebook, a Instagram en español más tarde ahora. Posiblemente más tardar mañana, pero tenemos la meta de ahora en adelante para los que no hablan inglés.
Thank you for that. And also I'd like to take a moment to acknowledge that the candidate forum is being hosted by the District 2 Block Club Coalition, comprised of block clubs in the District 2, including McMillan Street, Tucker Street, Rose, Peck, Van Ness, Pearl, and Spring. So if you're interested in forming a block club on your street, reach out to us on Facebook, and we'll be happy to assist you with that. So let's jump right in. So the reason for today's forum is to get to know your candidates. You'll learn about their background, their qualifications, their vision, and most importantly, their plan of action for District 2. District 2 voters are encouraged to do their homework and act by voting for the best candidate they feel will represent and benefit District 2. A note about some key dates to be aware of before we get started. Ballots will be mailed out by the Register Recorder's Office beginning March 20th, so that's about a month before the actual election. So we encourage residents to do their homework early and return their ballots as soon as they receive them. Residents are strongly cautioned against letting anyone mail their ballot. Your ballot is your choice and your voice. Please don't give your voice away. Be sure to personally mail your ballot yourself and do not let anyone mail your ballot. Another date to be aware of is Thursday, April 1st. That's the last day to register. The last day to vote is April 20th. So those 3 dates right there are important. Register to vote by April 1st. You'll receive your ballot by March 20th. That's a Saturday that weekend. And then the last day to vote is April 20th. So a quick note about primary versus runoff. This is actually the primary. If no candidate receives a majority of 50%, then the top 2 candidates will face off in the June runoff. Another note is to register to vote at lavote.org. Okay. So now let's meet the candidates. So 5 candidates have stepped forward to represent the residents of District 2. An invitation was extended to each candidate, and the 3 who responded are with us here today. We flipped a coin, and in no particular order, the City of Compton District 2. Meet your candidate for council member is Mr. Andre Spicer. Mr. Sky Fisher. And we have representatives from Mr. Jace Dawson's office here as well. I believe he'll be here shortly.
Yeah, he'll be here shortly.
Okay, great. Thank you. So, gentlemen, thank you for attending this afternoon. Let's lay down some ground rules before we get started. Each candidate will be asked the same question. Each candidate will have 3 minutes to respond. And we've employed the assistance of the timekeeper over here, this young gentleman. He is the timekeeper, so I encourage you to keep an eye on him. You have 3 minutes, he'll hold up 3 fingers. When you have 2 minutes left, he'll hold 2 fingers. When he holds 1 finger up, that means you have 1 minute to wrap it up. If you see him doing this, that means you've gone over your time limit, so please wrap it up. Oh, that's even better. So we have the traffic signal. You get the same concept, red, yellow, and green. So also I'd like to introduce to everyone Mr. Jace Dawson, who is a candidate for District 2. Thank you for attending this afternoon, Mr. Dawson. All right. So now let's jump right in to the questions. We won't waste any time because there's a lot of ground to cover. We may not get to all the questions, but it will give everyone an equal amount of time to make sure that they adequately respond. So again, we flipped a coin in no particular order. I'd like to start with Mr. Spicer. Could you please step up and introduce yourself and tell us why you are running to represent District 2.
Good afternoon, everybody. How's everyone doing today? Good. My name is Andre City Dre Spicer. I am a District 2 Council candidate, and I am a business owner. I am a lifelong resident. I represent 3 of 5 generations here in the city of Compton. I am a community activist. I'm also a radio personality in the city of Compton as well. I've been known to host many of community events, giveaways, backpack giveaways. We've even did some mentorship with the YAL program, teaching kids how to put together their own webcasts and podcasts here in the city of Compton. So I started the Hub Radio to change the image of Compton, and that's what we've been doing since we started. I appreciate you all taking the time to listen to me, and thank you guys for being here.
Our second candidate, Mr. Jace Dawson, could you please step up and tell us a little bit about yourself and why you are running to represent District 2?
Candidate.
Hello, Compton. It's a pleasure to see all of you here today. Thank you guys so very much for hosting this forum. I look forward to an intellectual conversation about how we're going to solve the problems here in the city of Compton. I'm Jace Dawson, your candidate for Compton City Council's 2nd District. I have devoted my entire adult life advocating for seniors and youth and those who are considered to be unjust in our society. You may ask yourself, what does that mean? We live in the 2nd District here in the city of Compton. After completing months and months of conversations with our neighbors, our family members, we understand that this district is suppressed. This district is left behind. And I am a person of the people, meaning that I'm an advocate for those voices who feel as though their voices have been quieted. That's who I am, a man for the people. And I'm going to start here right now and ask you a direct ask. I'm asking for your vote. I'm asking for you to entrust me to represent you from the dais. It is time to clean Compton, and we start by cleaning Compton this day, this election. I am with you now and beyond, and the hope is that after this, you will be with me too. I'm Jace Dawson, your candidate for council, 2nd District here in the city, number 1 on your ballot, and I thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Dawson. And now I'd like to introduce Mr. Sky Fisher. If you could step up and please tell us, introduce yourself and why are you running for District 2?
Good afternoon, and thank you for the opportunity to speak with you all this afternoon. My name is Sky Fisher. I actually grew up in this particular neighborhood right down the street. Lived here my entire life. Went to Linwood High, only because it was closer than Dominguez High School. Graduated from Compton College, Cal State Dominguez Hills, and most recently completed a program over at USC for real estate development.
I'm fine.
One of the reasons that I decided to run for this particular district is 1, because I live here, and 2, because I actually just got fed up. Not only did I get fed up, my neighbors got fed up. We were all fed up with the way that our streets looked, the services that were given to us from the city, and we just all knew that the city could do much better. And so my plan is to involve every single resident by getting back to the basics once I'm elected to the city council. We need to form block clubs. We need to make them stronger. We need to include them in the conversations. And we also need to have a road to make Compton a success and bring it back to what it really was about 20 years ago. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Fisher. So I just want to remind the candidates that if you feel that you don't need to occupy the 3 minutes and you want to concede your time back to the forum, that would be acceptable as well. Okay, and we'll just go round robin here. So, Mr. Spicer, can you tell us what makes you stand out from the other candidates?
So what makes me stand out from all the other candidates is experience. For the last 2 years, I've been the council liaison to Councilwoman Chambers, and I've had first-hand experience on fixing the issues that we already know that we have here in District 2. We know that we have road repair issues. We know that we have light. We know that we have alleys that need to be cleaned up, graffiti that needs to be painted over, trees that need to be trimmed. I have experience in the last 2 years in doing that in District 2. I also have experience in organizing, putting events together and community organization. We also organize groups to help clean up alleys in the district. So a lot of the work that you would be asking me to do, I've already done. I already have the experience here at the city of Compton. I've been doing this for the last 6-7 years. And even forums like this, we've interviewed several candidates in the last 8 years who ran for office for the exact same thing you're doing it for. So I've been transparent. We've been transparent here at the Hub Radio. I've been transparent as Andre Spicer, Hub City Dre, and I just want to continue to do that in the city of Compton. And I believe that I already have the experience. I already shown that I can do it. So that's what I would have over my competitors. Thank you.
It's on. You got to turn it on.
Well, it's not on.
No, you just got to turn it on.
I'll just keep stepping back and forth, if you don't mind. Hello. All right. The second candidate, Mr. Dawson, could you please come up and tell us what makes you stand out from other candidates? Yes.
Well, I'll tell you that for one, experience is key. I've worked under senators, congresspersons, city council persons, and I truly understand how municipalities work. It started with my undergrad at Texas A&M University, where I was the speech and debate team president of International Club. In that, we had the opportunity to be taught the basics of politics and how it affects the people directly. Another reason I know I stand out from my opponents here is that I do not belong to an establishment. Compton is built not of Republicans versus Democrats, but Compton is built of the establishment versus those who are struggling to put food on the table for their families after avoiding potholes at every mile, at every half mile. No one owns me here in the city of Compton. I am not bought and paid for. I don't have a friend in public office who's trying to get me to do their bidding. I am not a yes man. I am running because the community has asked me to run. I love the community. I love the people. The people make up the city of Compton. The people are the reason why I'm running, because they gave me an important ask that I take seriously. I've been in and out of Compton since I was 2. I fell in love with this city because of friends that I made here in LA County and the love that they show for this community. I want to see that born again. I'm running to make a real difference, but we can't make a difference if we're not being present and effective. And that's what I want to be for all of you as I represent you from the dais. That's what makes me stand out.
Thank you, Mr. Dawson. I gotta hold it close here. Mr. Fisher, could you please come up and tell us what makes you stand out from other candidates?
Thank you for that question. I am the only candidate with the experience and the knowledge to lead on day one. My first job was in the city of Compton, working for the councilperson in District 1 when I was 19. My second job was working for the councilperson in District 2, which I'm running for, when I was 21. When I left the city of Compton, I went on to work for numerous national labor unions as a national organizer, as a union rep, as a contract negotiator, and then I went on to work for the state legislative branch for Assemblymember Mike Davis. After that, I've worked numerous congressional and assembly and senator campaigns, and also LA City Council campaigns. I am the only candidate with the knowledge, with the legislative experience as a former school board member, to lead this district and bring it back to what it needs to be. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Fisher. Mr. Spicer, could you please step up and tell us what are the most important issues you see facing District 2, and how would you go about addressing them?
So some of the issues that I see in District 2 kind of revolves around my platform. One being public safety. So we have a public safety issue with the relationship we have with the sheriff department. There's a public safety issue there. There's also a public safety issue with ourselves. So we have to do a self-accountability issue as well with public safety. And then we go into economic development for me. There's a lot of brown space here in the city of Compton. I'm a business owner. I own 3 different businesses in my district. I own the Hub Radio, I own a hair salon, and I also own a water store that has a grand opening today, as a matter of fact, at 3 o'clock. And in those experiences, I understand the need to do something with this brown space, and also understand the relationships that it takes to partner with the landowners and the developers. In my experience with opening my shops, I had a specific situation where the landowner didn't want to rent it out to me. He said that it hadn't been rented out for 15 years. And he said that it was actually better as a tax write-off than it was to actually have me rent the place out, which offended me because it's my community and we see this brown space. We see this the poverty right here. So we have situations like that that also needs to be addressed. I think that I have experience in that because I obviously own businesses in the city of Compton. And then I'll go into housing. There's a housing issue. There's a housing issue with our own homes, and there's a housing issue with homelessness. I have two different plans. There's a grant that will help you to add on to your back house, or I'm sorry, your garage, to convert it into a home, living well for one family that will allow you to collect up to $1,000 in rent. And we also have another plan where we can an investment opportunity for people in the district to invest in opportunities to rid themselves of the homeless issue. So there's a couple different plans I have in place for those different situations. So yes, it would be public safety, it would be economic development, and then housing. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you, Mr. Fisher. Mr. Dawson. Oh, Mr. Spicer, please forgive me. Mr. Spicer. Our next candidate up, same question, Mr. Dawson. Could you please step up and tell us what are the most important issues that you see facing District 2, and how would you go about addressing them?
Well, I'll tell you my platform here, and the reason why my platform was birthed in the first place is because we have in the past depended on the same leadership and the same type of leadership to get us out of the issues that we're still facing today. Otherwise, there wouldn't be a need for me to be standing here before you.
That's right.
Cleaning Compton. We have to clean our cemeteries. We have to respect the final resting places of those who have labored here in the city of Compton. Mr. Dollarhide is there. Our former school board president is resting there as well. We can't have outsiders coming in here treating us like trash. We have to clean our streets. How many times have I tried to jog in my community and I stumble upon needles used for crack cocaine and crystal meth? We have to be beautified and attract businesses here to our community. And how can we do that with the trash that are overridden in our street? We focus way on the back. We focus on the future 20 years ahead of time instead of focusing on the low-hanging fruit before our very eyes. We're so quick to fix issues that haven't happened yet before we fix the issues of the past. It's time to clean that up. It is time that we clean up our finances. As we bring in our new businesses, we need to make sure that we bring in checks and balances. I would love to see an organized purchasing system at City Hall to make sure that we're looking at these controversial contracts with a fine eye and a fine-tooth comb. There is no reason why we should have controversial issues. There's no reason why we should have the mess of the city finances that we have here today. It is time that we clean up those finances and clean up City Hall. We clean up City Hall by voting in new representatives. That's going to create a watch group created mainly of our residents, because we know that you guys are not going to let us get away with anything. It is important that we make sure that you are part of the process that is happening at City Hall. Why is that important? Because everything we do affects you. It is important that we clean up our city because your future is on this ballot. These reoccurring issues are on this ballot. We do not want to continue to elect the same type of person that's going to kick the trash further and further down the line to blame it on the next person when he or she is voted into office. Right. Let's fix these issues. Let's fix it now. Let's do it together. I'm one vote, but you guys are almighty. Let's clean Compton.
Thank you for that, Mr. Dawson. Mr. Fisher, could you please step up and tell us what are the most important issues you see facing District 2 and how would you go about addressing them?
One of the most important issues I see facing District 2 are relationships. Living in this specific community my entire life, a lot of things don't make sense. If you look at Bullish Road, Linwood has started paving the street, Compton has not. We need to nurture these relationships. Over in this particular neighborhood, one street is Compton, one street is County, one street is Linwood. Nobody is coordinating. We need to be able to have those relationships, to sit down and make sure when we're delivering basic services to the residents of District 2, that we're coordinating with Linwood, we're coordinating with the county and the city of Compton, making sure everything is getting done at one time. The second biggest issue, which probably should have been number one, is public safety. in order to tackle public safety, we need to be able to mend the relationship with the sheriff department. The sheriff department is not going anywhere. We have to deal with this. And so the only way that we can have better public safety is try to create a middle ground. Let the sheriff department know what we expect as they patrol our cities. And the third part, I agree with Mr. Spicer, is economic development. The second district has been the most neglected district in the city of Compton. We have no new grocery stores, we have no new restaurants, we have no new retail, and so we need to get back to attracting new business. I speak with developers all the time, and as soon as they say they want to come into Compton, they want to go over into the Auto Plaza over there, or they want to go downtown Compton. Nobody wants to come to the second district, and we have to change that. But in order to change that, we have to have the relationships outside of Compton and throughout the state to bring those new resources into the city. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Fisher. Now moving on to our next question. On the topic of economic development, do you have a vision to promote and attract new business into District 2? Yes, Mr. Spicer, please.
One more time, can you repeat that question?
Yes, on the topic of economic development, do you have a vision to promote and attract new business into District 2?
So part of my vision is to change how Long Beach Boulevard looks. And it's about cleaning it up. It's about making it look more appealing for businesses to come. No one wants to bring their business to Long Beach Boulevard if it looks the way it looks. So we have to hold our businesses or landowners accountable for how their property looks. If we don't hold them accountable, why would they want to clean it up? Again, like I said before, my landlord didn't want to rent it out to me because he felt like it was a bigger tax write-off than it was to actually accept my rent per month. And like I said, a lot of owners feel the same way because they don't live in this community. So we have to do our job as the city officials to put the pressure on those owners to change the way their establishment looks. That's the first thing that I want to do. And I don't know if I have enough time, but that's definitely one of the things that I want to do with changing how Long Beach Boulevard looks, and not just Long Beach, but Compton Boulevard as well. We have a lot of burnt buildings on Compton Boulevard, a lot more vacancies on Compton Boulevard. So these are thoroughfares through our city, and both these thoroughfares need to be cleaned up and by the same way. And then we need to bring more businesses that's from the city to the city. There's a lot of talent here. A lot of people have small businesses here, and they have to take it outside of the city because it's not that easy for them to start their business here in the city. One reason why is because license. I know this firsthand. It wasn't even easy for me, and I know people there in City Hall. So the problem is, a lot of small businesses go through this, and it's so much easier in other areas. I want to change that for the city of Compton by streamlining small businesses and them getting started here in the city of Compton. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Spicer. Now we'll call up Mr. Dawson on the topic of economic development. Do you have a vision to promote and attract new business into District 2?
Yes. How can we get there if we are not taking care of the businesses that we have currently? Yesterday morning, I awakened to smoke in my entire home. Bombs were being dropped on the city of Compton, or so I thought. This was due to a fire that broke out because of a homeless encampment, allegedly, that targeted a business, H&H business ran by Chris, that then targeted Matrix Mattress Company, led by Jose and his entire, and even more. I've been having conversations with our local business owners, and we all agree that contacting City Hall to help with these issues of code enforcement, with beautifying and cleaning up the area, has fallen on deaf ear due to absentee leadership and absentee responses. How can we possibly bring in new businesses here if we're allowing the ones we have here to go up in flames for something that could have been prevented? Years ago, regarding our infrastructure, when we said there was a problem with our water wells, there was a problem with our pressure, those businesses could have been saved. but they were not saved because we ran out of water due to the pressure, or the water was slow. Because of the slow leadership here in the city of Compton, those businesses are now suffering, those families are suffering. To see that was an eyesore, and it bothered me to my core, as these families who put their life savings into their businesses are crying because they've contacted the city before. I want to take those owners, along with the rest of the business leaders in the 2nd District, and I want to finalize a plan of what they think works best. I want to take that plan and I want to work that out with the rest of City Council and the City Manager. And I want to put forth a plan that works best for the constituents here in the city of Compton. And this is important that I'm done. What we need to do in our city is make sure that the businesses come here, that they're bringing a value to the city, some type of tax revenue, some type of enhancement for our residents, because we're taxpayers. We pay more than those in Beverly Hills.
Yes, we do.
Why is that?
I don't know.
Compton, we can do better. We will do better. I can't do it alone. It will take all of us to do it better. Let's clean up this city. Let's upgrade Compton. I am Jace Dawson, #1 on your ballot and #1 for positive and effective change.
Thank you very much, Mr. Dawson. And now we call up Mr. Fisher. Could you please come up and talk to us about economic development? Do you have a vision to promote and attract new business into District 2?
Yes, I do. And thank you. One of the first things that we need to focus on, it's the same thing I tell folks that are interested in selling their homes, is we have to focus on our curb appeal. We have to clean up our streets. We have to continue to fix our roads. And we have to make sure Compton is business friendly. I was actually speaking with someone that was interested, a franchisee that was interested in coming into Compton. And I took the same approach that I do when I show someone a home in Compton. I bring them into the community, and I let them meet the people of Compton. And I show them that Compton is not what they see on the news and not what they heard about, and that Compton can afford their business, and Compton will sustain them. So we really need to focus on the curb appeal. We have to start thinking outside of the box and helping folks realize that Compton deserves the Albertsons, Compton deserves a mall, Compton deserves, just like Carson deserves and Lakewood and Cerritos, we deserve the same exact thing. But it takes someone to bring them into the city, someone that has those relationships, not only in Compton, but throughout the state of California, to have those conversations, to introduce them to the community, and show them that Compton can afford them. And that's my plan.
Thank you for that, Mr. Fisher. And now moving on to our next question. Mr. Spicer, could you please come up and tell us, how do you plan to unite and include all of your District 2 constituents into your decision-making process? How do you plan to unite and include?
By logic and results. We may not agree on trivial situations, but however, if we have logic, numbers, stats, we should be able to agree. We want the same thing. We want our community to look better. We want our streets to look better. We want streets paved. We want trees trimmed. These are things that we don't have to debate about. We know that this is what we want, so we work together to get those things. One of the other things is just, there's no reason why it did not look like a Bellflower Boulevard. There's no reason why a Compton Boulevard couldn't look like somewhere downtown Long Beach. So it's these different things that we can really just agree on. We know that we want more business. We know that we want to do something about our homeless issue. It's about actually putting forth the effort and the resources to do so. Again, I have plans for all of these different things. I have plans for our homeless situation, and not just homeless as a whole, but different specific homeless. So a lot of people are displaced, and then you can actually have solutions. But this is all logic and this is all conversation. We have to have open dialogue in our community. We need to have more town hall meetings. We need to have more dialogue like this, where we can just sit here and talk with the community and get ideas and express our ideas and our concerns. So these are different ways that I anticipate opening up communication and getting our constituents to all be on one page. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Spicer. And now our next candidate, Ms. Dawson, could you please step up and tell us how you plan to unite and include all of your District 2 constituents into your decision-making process?
Easy. By continuing the relationships that we've already began to build. How can you include your residents if you're not having town hall meetings? That's the very definition of absentee leadership. It is just so saddened that the second district has to suffer due to that process. And what's to stop the city council person from having roundtable meetings with the leaders in our community, our block club captains, having these conversations about what more can we do? How can we get better investments here in our community? How can we create better green spaces in this community? How can we be quicker with cleaning up our streets, making our parks better for our students, for our children? We do that by having conversations. You must invite the constituents into the office that they own. Why are we not having a quarterly event to where the residents have the opportunity to come and sit with the council person in their office? Why are we not having quarterly events, developing task force made up of our residents so that you can tell me what needs to be done so we can put a plan forward? Let me break it down for you. This is how it should work. The residents tell the council person what it is you want. I put it up in a plan and present that plan to the other council. The council turn that plan into policy. Then we take that policy plan and we present that. After it passes, then we have the city manager whose job is to implement that plan. That's the second process. The final process is all of those workers who work, the liaisons and everyone else under the city manager's office, takes those plans and executes those plans. And it becomes a circle of life. A continuous relationship between the city council person and the people of the second district. Does that not sound fair to you? Is that not something? Because I've talked to so many of you having these same conversations. How can we be more inclusive and transparent with the residents? How, as a city leader, are you going to be effective? Well, you have to first be visual. You have to make sure that you are effective by being very transparent. Integrity, accountability, leadership is on the ballot.
Thank you, Mr. Dawson. And now I'd like to take a moment, if we would, to just pause. There was a resident who just attended here, said that online she was unable to hear, so she had to come here in person. How was the broadcast coming in from your perspective?
It was coming in and out. The viewing was fine, but hearing you guys...
Was it me or was it the candidates or overall?
I couldn't hardly hear the candidates. It kept breaking up.
Okay, thank you for that feedback.
That's the internet thing.
We'll see what we can do about that.
On Zoom.
Okay. All right, and now we'll continue the forum with Mr. Fisher. Could you please step up and tell us how you plan to unite and include all of your constituents into your decision-making process?
Maybe it's the organizer in me from the past 15 years I spent with the labor unions and in the community, but I believe in just having one-on-one conversation. We have to have someone that's not afraid to walk the streets of Compton in every neighborhood. Me and my friends have this ongoing joke that we tell each other that you can always tell someone who's walking down the street that's really from Compton because we're not afraid of our own people. We have to be able to organize block clubs in this community like you guys did on McMillan and so many other streets and blocks in the second district. We have to be able to not ask you all to come to City Hall, but we have to be willing to come to you and have these conversations like we're having today. That's how I plan to unite the second district with empowering City Hall and bringing in new revenue, bringing in new economic development, and empowering every citizen in the second district to know that your council person, it will always be responsive, your council person will always answer the phone, and your council person will always include you in their decision making and make sure that your voices are heard in every step of the process.
Thank you, Mr. Fisher, for that response. And now I'd like to call up Mr. Spicer, if you would, please. So this is a two-part question. The first part is fun. And the second part is a serious question, but the first question is, what is your superpower and how are you using it?
Oh wow, my superpower. How am I using it? My superpower would be community organizing. I organize groups of people fairly well. And through that, I was able to organize groups of people to help clean up the district or the city throughout the city in alleys and Blythe and even some senior homes. So how would I use? I guess that's like.
Okay, great. Thank you. So the second part of this question is, what is your understanding of the city charter?
My understanding of the city charter is one that it may be a little outdated. Some things that we can update on the charter and implementing that would be the having a united ideas to implement some of those things that we already have in our charter and more things that we want to add to the charter. So again, the charter hasn't been updated in some years, and with that, we just have not implemented some of these things. So I would like to implement some of the things more that we want to change in the charter. Thank you.
Okay, great. Thank you, Mr. Spicer, for that response. And now, Mr. Dawson, if you could come up, please, and tell us what is your superpower and how are you using it? And then the second part, if you want to segue into that, what is your understanding of the city charter?
My superpower is my smile and my enthusiasm. How does?
Amen.
You know, I knocked on someone's door and they didn't want any part of me. They don't care about what's going on in the city of Compton. But I smiled and I said, well, can you just tell me what are the most important issues to you and your family? And it's like, since you have to smile at me, I'll tell you. And we had a nice conversation. So that's how I use my superpower. Yes. My understanding of the city charter. Well, here we are, straight to the point. The city charter indicates that you have the votes of the city council. The mayor is supposed to be that tie-breaking vote of the charter, and we're supposed to follow in line with that charter. You think of the charter as our national symbol. It is a roadmap, a GPS for those younger than some, to follow, to make sure that we're staying in lockstep with what the rules and the laws are according to our city charter. Now, with that being said, let me just say that I would love to see the charter slightly updated to make sure that we clean up our city according to cleaning up our finances, cleaning up our cemeteries, cleaning up our city hall. That is very important to all of us. Once we get our ducks in a row and get ourselves out of debt, then we can move forward. One final thing, and I'll take my seat. When we get new revenue, the residents think that now we have the money to finish paving our streets. We have the money to do new and exciting things here in the city. But what our leaders don't tell you is that it's much like a credit card. When you receive new money, you have to pay off old debt first. And I believe that's where we went wrong in dealing with our Measure P when it came to cleaning and correcting our infrastructures regarding our streets and our potholes. I am not going to overpromise you anything just to underdeliver like so many have before. But I can promise that I'm going to wake up every single day with you first, putting my best foot forward the way.
Thank you, Mr. Dawson, for that response. And Mr. Fisher, if you could please step up and tell us, two-part question, what is your superpower and how are you using it? And what is your understanding of the city charter?
I really never thought about having a superpower, but I guess you can say I'm an embodiment of every supervisor, every coworker, every manager, every person I've ever worked with over the last 15 years. My friends call me, some of my friends call me the human Rolodex, because they are able to call me and say, hey, who do you know here? Can you help me get this done? And I'm always in a place of understanding where I can help them get to the next step. And my understanding of the city charter dictates how the city is governed and how the city operates. It's a document that is old, that needs to be updated. We have to bring it into the 21st century and help Compton function the way other cities are functioning. Cities around us that are charter cities have updated or transformed from general law to charter cities, and their cities operate a lot smoother than Compton does. And so we have to update that document, and that's one of the things that I do want to do if elected during my first term.
Excellent. Thank you so much. Okay, and now for the next question, we are going to move along. Mr. Spicer, could you please come up and tell us what is your plan for partnering with your colleagues on the entire dais?
My plan for partnering with my colleagues is, again, logic and reason. It's about putting out the facts, black and white, making it plain and simple, and also involving the community. I'm big in transparency, so my thing is always communicate with the community and each district as well. So each district is represented by the group of people, and those group of people have to support their representative. So, and my plan is to constantly communicate with the people. We have to constantly communicate with the citizens and everyone on the same page, and those people will should be able to push their representative to represent them in the way best see fit. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for that response, Mr. Spicer. And now if we can have our next candidate, Mr. Dawson, come up. Same question. What is your plan to partner with the entire dais?
Well, my plan to partner with the entire dais is to lead out of love and respect first. I think it's important that we respect our colleagues in any work environment, especially when you're dealing with the lives as sensitive as the residents here in Compton. And I say it's sensitive because we're making life-changing decisions for you and your family. When I walk into a professional environment, you know what I do? I leave my personal at the door, and I put on my hat of professionalism. You won't catch me being slighted or harmed by someone's verbal attack, because the world didn't give me joy and the world can't take it away, right?
Amen.
So as we move forward in understanding that, my coworker means no harm. We just have to look at the facts and focus on those trails of facts and moving forward. I will shake your hand. We will find a place of agreement. I've worked across the aisle my entire life, and boy, has it been hard. I've seen the infighting on the council, and I just thought to myself, why can't you just say, okay, we can't talk right now, we'll meet at a later date. I am not a fan of verbally attacking my coworker, especially someone I plan on working with. I think that when you're representing the people, that's not what they want. You have to take yourself out of the situation and have a people first mentality. So when we're talking about bringing in new businesses and wanting Compton to look like our neighbors, I say the heck with that. I don't want to look like anybody else. Compton is fly all on its own. We should continue standing up being fly all on our own, doing bigger and better things. We should be outshining every city here in the state of California. I mean, our taxes are paying for it, right? So why would that hold us back from being cordial with our colleagues? I don't want our streets to look like their streets. I want our streets to look better than their streets. We have the people and the manpower and the know-how to do so. It's just about using it accordingly. And that's treating people like people, not propositions, not what I can get out of the deal. It's not about me. When you're a public servant, you're serving the public. And you should always put them first, not individual persons trying to get a payday off someone you know or an organization you know. It's not about that. But it's about how are we going to feed our community, how are we going to make them safe, and how are they going to make sure that they are proud to call Compton home and not say I live in Long Beach because it looks better. That's how.
Thank you, James, for that response. And now, Mr. Fisher, if you would come up, please. What is your plan for partnering with your colleagues on the dais?
My plan for partnering with my colleagues on the dais will be the same plan I used when I was a school board member. We kind of came to an agreement that we understood that outside forces were always looking at Compton, looking at its elected leadership. And so even though people may say that we had a united front or we were all friends, that's just the perception from the outside looking in. We had a lot of disagreements, but we all chose to not air those disagreements publicly. We kept them behind closed doors, and understanding that all of that disagreement that we have in public affects our ability to attract new business and attract great things for the city. And so I will use that same plan as a city council person if elected. I would not only use that same plan for my council colleagues, but my school board colleagues, trying to mend that relationship, and also over at the college district. So thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Fisher, for that response. And now we're going to do another two-parter. One of them is a fun question, and the other one's a serious question. Mr. Spicer, if you could please come up and tell us, what are your favorite things to do, your favorite spots, favorite places, and where do you spend time in Compton?
My favorite place is to spend time in Compton. I love Mexican food. So Los Sombreros on Long Beach Boulevard and Elm Street raised me. I've been there, been in that neighborhood my whole life, and again, the food actually raised me. So in terms of places to go and eat, that would definitely be one of mine quite often.
And then the second part to that question, could you tell us, please tell us about the support and backing you have in our community.
The support that I'm getting in the community is from the community. So for years, I've been a community activist. For years, I've been a community organizer. So getting the community to back me, getting the community to support me, step out and do videos and show that they support. My whole campaign finance is by the community. I have a grassroots campaign. We only seek donations from the community, and we've been able to do pretty well so far with our campaign. So the question again was, how do I?
So the question was, what support and who is behind you in the community? What backing do you have in your support?
The community itself.
Not just the community, maybe other council members, other mayors, who's backing you?
No one's backing me, just the community. There is no
endorsements.
We have endorsements from former city council, former city attorney LaGrange Clay. Obviously, Councilwoman Michelle Chambers. We have community activist Ms. Yoselin Sanchez. We have a couple of businesses, Compton Car Wash Community. Compton Car Wash, Alexander Burritos, Los Sombreros, and several other Billionaire Burger Boys. Billionaire Pizza. There's several businesses that support me as I help bring some of those businesses to Compton and help promote those businesses as well through our hub radio station.
Excellent.
Thank you.
Thank you. I also love Mexican food. Los Sombreros is my second kitchen. It's a great place, anyone. Okay, Mr. Dawson, if you would come up, please. Two-part question. Where are your favorite places to hang out? Things to do when you spend time in Compton?
One of my favorite places to hang out is Rubens on the corner of North Santa Fe Avenue and Rosecrans. They have some of the best I'm sorry, what?
Where?
Rosecrans.
Okay.
North Santa Fe Avenue.
Nice.
Rubens. Some of the best kids because it's walking distance from my home. I'm a runner and a kickboxer, so I used to sneak, I shouldn't say sneak, but I used to sneak onto Compton campus to run on their track and to do martial arts out in the field with some of the students there. And we would have conversations about how can we get more young people involved in the process of community here. So it's some of the favorite things for me to do here.
Thank you. And now the second part to that question, please tell us the support, endorsements, or backing that you have in our community.
I have the backing of our senior community, who I love. I have the backing of our Latin community, who I love. I have the backing of the youth who are still learning how municipalities work, who I love and adore. Those are some strong backing, and I'll tell you why I have their backing. Because the seniors will not have to worry about me cursing them out for disagreement or disrespecting them on social media or in person. The Latino community loves me because they know that I'm going to put my best foot forward, making sure that they are represented every step of the way. I mean, with 70+% of Latino community here in the city of Compton, we need better representation. And they have been left behind for so long. It's time to put an end to that. The youth love me because I don't tell them what to do. I teach them. I walk them through the process and how things work. And I tell them it is okay to disagree. But what is not okay is for me to slight you. What's not okay is for me to throw stones at you just because we have a difference of opinion. But I also teach them how to smile and speak to your enemies and how to keep pushing forward with your beliefs. That's the support that I have here in Compton. And I'm gaining more support every single day. The more doors I knock on, the more phone calls I make, the more seniors I meet in the grocery stores with a smile on my face. I think that's my favorite part of the job, just being people-oriented.
Thank you for that enthusiastic response, Mr. Dawson. And now finally, same question, Mr. Fisher. Could you tell us a little bit about what are some of your favorite things to do, favorite places to hang out in the city of Compton?
Well, most recently, the only places I really hang out is on Zoom with my friends, trying to keep the social distancing thing in check. But outside of that, Loritos Turkey Tacos down on Compton Boulevard is one of my favorite restaurants in the city. Los Sombreros also, really like them over there. I hang out at my friend's house over in the 1st District a lot. We hang out in the backyard over there. He trains for track back there. And what was
The second part of that question is, please tell us the support, endorsements, and backing you have in the community.
I have the backing of a lot of the community members. I have the backing of some school board members that are currently elected to the school board. And I actually stopped asking for endorsements. And the reason I did that is because I really want to make sure that my campaign specifically was people power in the community. I had the opportunity to get endorsements from state elected and other local elected officials, and I chose not to do that because I really want to make sure that my campaign was centered right here in the 2nd District.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Mr. Fisher. Okay, Mr. Spicer, if you would come up and tell us, if elected, what steps would you take to put our city on a firmer financial footing?
The first step I would take to put our city on a firmer financial footing is, one, going after the businesses, the blight in the city. So I'm going after the land owners, the people that own the land that have the blight. We want to go after them. We also want to start to see about the bringing more businesses in to bring in more business revenue, as well as, So we want to bring in the new businesses to bring in new business revenue by also cleaning up the city, these districts. So those are the things I would want to do first to bring in more revenue to the city of Compton.
Thank you for your response. Mr. Dawson, if you would please step up and tell us, if elected, what steps would you take to help our city on a firmer financial footing?
Well, first and foremost, when it comes to cleaning up our city finances, we need to make sure that we have a purchasing department. This purchasing department must explore every single contract and city bidding that comes before the dais. It's always been complex to me how a person could bid for a particular job, and on the bidding roster you land at number 4 and number 5, and somehow you end up with that contract. That's mind-boggling to me. We need proper checks and balances at City Hall before we can move forward with organizing our new revenue. Otherwise, we're still going to be in the same pit hole that we're trying to dig ourselves out of now. Furthermore, we need watchdogs made primarily of the residents so that we can keep our finger on the pulse of the issues here in the community, making sure that we're spending wisely, and making sure that when we develop a budget here in the city of Compton, that we follow through with that budget and not change it halfway through. Not fire someone in the middle of a contract to where we have to pay them off for work that they did not do. That's interfering with the residents' money. That's interfering with our general fund. I think that if we incorporate all these processes, that would then leverage us to move forward with a healthier check and balance system for the city of Compton. The last thing we want to do is try to bring in a major park or a major complex for our constituents, and then the checks read insufficient fund due to lack of integrity and accountability here in the city of Compton. It is time that we drive forward and keep moving forward, making sure that we're putting you first every step of the way. And it starts with putting safeguards into practice to make sure that we're spending accordingly and not unnecessarily. That's what I would do. And I look forward to doing so.
Thank you, Mr. Dawson, for that response. And our last candidate on this question, Mr. Fisher, if you come up, if elected, what steps would you take to help our city place us on a firmer financial footing?
Thank you. one of the most important jobs I had as a school board member, and the only job we actually had outside of legislative responsibilities, was hiring a superintendent. Understanding the way that Compton is set up as a charter city, this city is city manager reign. And so one of the first things that we do need to do, we need to make sure that the city manager that we have in place is highly qualified to fix the issues in the city of Compton. We need to make sure that the city controller is highly qualified to fix the financial issues in the city of Compton. And we need to make sure that the entire city council sets the expectation and sets the tone for both of the only two employees that the city council hires to move this city to a better place and move it into the future.
Mr. Fisher, thank you for that response. We are moving along quite nicely here. This is until 3 o'clock, and it's now, we're approaching the top of the 2 o'clock hour. After we ask these questions, for you to ask your questions. So, moving on to the next question, Mr. Spicer, if you would come up, please. What are the issues you plan to address in your first 100 days in office?
The first 100 days, I want to address the blight in District 2. It's too much blight in District 2. The streets are too dirty. The alleys are still a mess. The trees still haven't been trimmed on a lot of these streets. I've walked down these streets in my campaign, and I see trees coming together on both sides of the streets. These are just simple fixes that makes a when you change how your environment, you change how you feel about your environment. Yeah. And when you change how you feel about your environment, you change how you feel about yourself. And those are things that we need to address first and clean up how our community actually looks. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Spicer. And to all the candidates, we certainly will have a list of things that we think you should be focusing on within the first 100 days. So, Mr. Dawson, if you could come up and please answer that question as well. What are your plans to address the first 100 days? What do you hope to accomplish?
What I hope to accomplish are clean cemeteries, clean streets with no needles. What I hope to accomplish is a onset to cleaning up our city finances. And what will have already started in the accomplishment process will be me elected as your next city council representative. We'll move forth in these areas by making sure that we are contacting our leaders here in our block clubs. Why? Because they are the boots on the ground. I mentioned that low-hanging fruit before. Well, guess what? There's even more to be taken care of behind that low-hanging fruit. That's just what's in front of our faces. Clean our front yards, then we move forward by cleaning our backyards. And we do that by making sure that we have an ironclad plan that the community is aware of, so that they can hold us accountable for making sure that we're moving forward with keeping that plan going every step of the way. What I would like to see in the first 100 days is making sure that we develop a quarterly meeting where we have community participation, where we're cleaning our community. Why can't that be so? I would love to see that. What we have on our streets now are homeless encampments. It doesn't seem like we're doing much about it. The current leadership said that we don't have a homeless problem, and yet there are homeless encampments through and through the city of Compton. They were right behind my own backyard. What I would like to see done is a plan moved forward that we have not only housing for our houseless neighbors, but mental health services brought here to the city of Compton to focus on those situations. Life skill courses brought here to the city of Compton, perhaps in our parks, to focus on teaching our youth focus on teaching those who are displaced from a home. And in those life skills, you teach them how to balance a budget. You teach them how to pay a bill. And most importantly, you teach them how to pay taxes. Because when they get a job, we want them to bring their tax money right here to the city of Compton. That's important and it's imperative. So that's just a blip of what I plan to accomplish in the first 100 days in office. But wait until after 4 years.
Thank you, James, for that response. And now, Mr. Fisher, if you would please come up and tell us, what are the issues you plan to address in your first 100 days in office?
Well, first, after setting the expectations and setting goals for the city manager and city controller, I want to start off by going around and talking to every community within the second district and making sure I got the issues correct. My personal issues with the city and the second district are, one, these streets, the relationship that we have with the surrounding communities, Linwood and Paramount and the county. We need to fix these things. We need to make sure that we are able to do more with less. We just had a massive layoff, and we all heard in the news that the city is in a $113 million deficit. And so there is no money to do anything elaborate. But we have to get back to what the basis of what a community really is. We have to get out in the community. We have to help build these block clubs that are not in existence. We have to empower the block clubs that are existing. And we have to make sure that we are all working together to really deliver quality services together to our neighbors and throughout the city of Compton.
Mr. Fisher, if you would say, thank you for that response, if you would say, please, that one will go back this way. Would that be okay with you, too? Just to save time? Thank you. And what will you do if you are not elected?
I would do the same thing I've been doing, since I've been in Compton. Answering calls from my neighbors who call me constantly about how to get trees trimmed, how to report lights that are out in the neighborhood, taking time to sit down with the seniors of the community and explain their water bills, taking the time to call City Hall and see who I know to help them get through the city process, going around and letting other business owners outside of the city of Compton, knowing that Compton is open for business, and bringing them to Compton personally and showing them the folks in Compton and let them have the conversation for themselves, so they will know that Compton is a great place to do business. So I will continue to do that.
Thank you for that response, Mr. Fisher. Now, let me just pause here for a moment. We have cards here. If anyone has questions that they want to ask the candidates, please raise your hand and we'll walk over to you. We'll collect your responses. We are getting to the end of our questions here, where we'll be turning it over to the audience. And we may end way ahead of 3 o'clock. We'll give everyone back their time of the day. It's a beautiful day. We want everyone to go out and enjoy it.
If you need
Okay.
one, just raise your hand.
Now, Mr. Dawson, could you please come up and tell us? There will only be one winner in this election. What will you do if you are not elected?
Wait, there's only going to be one winner in this election? Are you sure? Thank you. Well, I'll tell you, 2020, what I did was I posted on the Nextdoor app and all of the other apps concerning the city of Compton, and I said that if there's anyone displaced, have any physical challenges, suffering from any immune deficiencies, please call me for help. And they did. We've had multiple trips to the Walmarts, the grocery stores to help the community with their groceries. I've bought out of my own pocket diapers and wipes for single mothers. I have gone with them to the Compton courthouse when they were facing eviction, just to have a friend there with them, and I talked them through the process. I've reached out to attorneys that I knew to help them stay in their homes during that process. I will continue to work in this community the same way that I've been doing. I will work with whomever God chooses to place in this seat to represent the people. I will hold their feet to the fire, which does not include bashing them at every corner or every decision that they make, but it does include giving my honest and loud opinion about what's happening in our district, making sure that they are representing us and representing us proud. Because if I so happen not to be that person, it doesn't mean the work stops. That means the work just begins again. Then after that, I would either join the McMillan Block Club or the Tucker Street Block Club. I mean, it beats starting my own, right? But what I would like to see is a block club alliance to where we meet every 3 months, discuss our ideas, what's happening on your street, what issues are you solving, what are your new issues, and what can we do to present a plan of action to our representative. Let's write it up in a letter and let's hold that person accountable. That's what I would do.
Thank you, Mr. Dawson. In fact, I just want to interject that we do have a District 2 Block Club Coalition in effect already, so something definitely to get involved with, anyone who wants to start their own block club. Mr. Spicer, if you could come up and tell us, there will only be one winner in this election. What will you do if you are not elected?
What will I do if I'm not elected? I will continue to do the things that I have been doing. I will continue my community organizing. I will continue my food giveaways. I'll continue my backpack giveaways. All the things that I've been doing for years. Verifiable things, not things that I just say I do and then you can never verify it. Verifiable things. I actually have a resume that you can actually verify all of these things that I actually do. So I'll continue to do those things. Continue to do these mentorship programs with the youth at the YAL. I'll continue to organize community cleanups. I will continue to do all of the different things that I've been doing in the community for the last 6 years. So I appreciate the question. Thank you.
Thank you, thank you. And if you would please stay behind because it will segue into the next question just to save people from getting up and down. And I think you addressed this already. How have you already been volunteering and serving in the community for the past 4 years?
Again, I'm one of the only ones that actually have a resume that you can verify. Things that you can actually look up and see that I've done. I'm not a new name here. I didn't just show up in December. I've been here for years. Again, I represent 3 of 5 generations. My father was a Compton school police. My mother and my father both went to Compton High. All of my aunts and uncles went to Compton High School. We've been here. So there's nothing I can tell you that you probably don't already know about myself. I have 3 businesses here. I'm committed to this community. I'm not going anywhere. Not like a lot of people, and I've interviewed all of them, a lot of people lose, and I'm glad you asked this question, and we never hear from them again. And those same people might not show up again until the next 4 years when it's time to run again. And that's what we've been seeing. This time, you get to see somebody that's in office that you've been knowing, that you've been rooting for, that you've been working with, that you've been dedicated to, that's been dedicated to you. So that's what I'm bringing to the table.
Thank you.
Thank
you
you
so much, Mr. Spicer, for answering that two-part question. And Mr. Austin, if you would come up as well, could you tell us a little bit about how have you already been in the community, serving the community, volunteering for the past 4 years?
Well, I told you a little bit, but I don't mind telling you a bit more. What I have been doing is checking on my senior neighbors, those upstairs. I've worked on beautification projects with a couple of our organizations here in the city of Compton. I've reached a large number of them. A large number of them did not return the phone call or the email, but the ones that did know that I've worked with them diligently. I fed the homeless every first Saturday here in the city of Compton with me and my mentees, making lunch kits and safe practice kits for them. I've driven them to be tested. I've worked on a number of beautification projects and specifically worked with other people in their homes. So, you know, someone may say, well, how do you prove that you've done this? Well, you know, the proof is in the put in. And I wouldn't have the backing that I have if the people were not a part of that. Is there anyone here who've witnessed any of that? You can yell out, throw your hands up. My work in the community. Okay, all right, perfect. I love to see that. So I love being people driven because the people tell you what they need. And if you're able to give an antidote to what people need, then I'm the person for the job. I love how we're able to maneuver throughout our city and see an issue and solve it instead of just talking about the problem, right? That's one of the deciding reasons why I decided to run for this office. I didn't want to no longer stand on the sidelines and be a complainer. I wanted to be a problem solver. And this is the first step to doing so. When I was first asked to run, I thought to myself, no, because it's always a game of musical chairs. From one seat to the other seat of people with their over-promising and their under-delivering. And if they're not in the seat, they put their friend in the seat to be the yes man for them, to get their personal agendas pushed, right? Well, here's the thing. At the end of each and every day, we have to answer for those decisions. And now is the time to answer for those past decisions by switching them out, cleaning up our city and upgrading it in the best way possible by taking the power out of the hands of the politicians and placing them where they rightfully belong, in the hands of all of you, the people.
Thank you, Mr. Dawson. Finally, Mr. Fisher, if you could come up, please, also, and answer the same question. How have you already been volunteering or serving in the city in the past 4 years? Although you did address that a little bit earlier, you may want to take the opportunity to expound on that.
Yeah. So I've, like I said, I've been here my entire life. So my grandfather was actually buried in the city of Compton in 1968. My mother still lives in the city of Compton. My uncle lives right outside of Compton. They're both educators in the city of Compton. And so if I'm not elected, I'm going to get back to doing what I've been doing all along. Volunteer with the foster care education program over at Compton College. You know, volunteer with any organization in the city that calls me out. Either if they need funding, if they need help writing letters to get funding for their organizations, or need me to come out and actually hand out food, turkeys, toys, I do that. So it's a lot that I've been doing over the past 4 years and my entire life in the city of Compton.
Thank you, Mr. Fisher, for the answer to that question. And now, we'll move on to the topic of legacy. Mr. Spicer, if you can come up and talk to us about the topic of legacy. What do you hope to accomplish in your term, not just the first 100 days, but as a city council member, what will be your legacy?
My legacy would be turning Compton around completely. I dedicated my first business, the Hub Radio, to changing the image of Compton. I would like to expound on that and continue to change the image of Compton. A lot of times where I travel and I tell people where I'm from, they'll say, well, you don't look like, you don't walk like, you don't talk like, you don't dress like, you don't move like you're from Compton. And I ask all the time, well, what does that even look like? I've been here for my entire life. That'd be 38 years. So, and a lot of times it's based off what images are put in media or on TV and radio and whatnot. So my job was to change those images. At that time, no one from Compton was telling Compton stories. So there's no way in the world somebody from Compton can tell, that's not from Compton, can tell a Compton story. So what we want to do is change that image. And changing that image, I've done with the Hub Radio. And so my legacy would be changing the image of Compton.
Very good. And if you could please remain, there's a two-part question so that we can save time. And we'll also provide that over to the other candidates as well. So this question is from the audience. It's from a group called Intelligence for Matters, if I said that correctly. Yeah, okay, so what program do you have in the Compton for the youth to get involved in politics? Not a lot of youth there. So how do we get the youth engaged, to understand education about how their city works?
So what I have done already, I looked at the numbers of Compton. There's 100,000 residents in Compton. The average age in Compton is 25 years old, but the average voter is 55 years old. There's a huge difference in that. So my job in the Hub Radio had been to engage the youth in local politics. What I've done in that, and what you can verify, is that I've interviewed everyone that's run for office in the last 3 elections for every seat. Some that we've never heard from again, some that are actually in office today. And the point of me doing that was so that we can engage our youth in the voting process. I've held several voter registration events. No one in Compton has held voter registration events. No one in city council holds voter registration events. Even when our turnout is as low as it is, last election here in District 2, there's 10,000 people registered voters, but there's only 1,800 people that actually voted in the last election. That's an issue, and the issue is, again, we have to take self-accountability because we aren't voting. And that's me. I'm speaking to myself when I say the average age is 25, but the average voter is 55. I'm speaking about myself and my peers. So my job was to engage people that look like me, that dress like me, that talk like me, that walk like me, move like me, to engage in this whole process. And that's what I've done. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Spicer, for adequately answering that question. Mr. Dawson, now if you would please step up. It's a 2-part question in the interest of saving time on the topic of legacy. What do you hope to accomplish in your term as a city council member? What will be your legacy?
I hope to establish the city of Compton as a city on the hill, a city to aspire to. Brooklyn was once upon a time was looked at as a piss poor community, the way people oftentimes look at Compton. Now Brooklyn is a city that everyone is moving mountains to move to. That will be my legacy. A legacy that turned a suppressed district by partnering with the residents around to a proud district and continued it with a stronghold. This will be a legacy that will go down in history because someone who did the research and listened and opened his heart to the community and gave them the green light to take control. That's what it's about. A people-driven community. We all have a stake here in the community. And we oftentimes mention being from Compton, knowing Compton issues. Well, I'm speaking to Compton's issues. I've spoken to families who've moved to the city of Compton 3 months ago, 3 years ago. Guess what? They're still voters. They're still taxpayers here in the city of Compton. And it's not to say that they haven't done their due diligence by researching the history of Compton's successes and Compton's failures. So we can't say to them that you don't have a right to say what goes on in Compton because you were not born and raised here. Then we have those who've been here 30 plus years of their entire life, who absolutely have the right, who's also witnesses Compton's failures and successes, who knows what Compton needs to get moving. This city has risen before. This city has gone through tragic makings. But now it's time to be born again. It's time to present something anew. And we have a vast opportunity to do that now, in this election, year 2021. We were dealing with a pandemic long before COVID-19. Now it's high time that we get rid of that pandemic.
Mr. Dawson, that dramatics. And so I see the time is short for that question, right?
Readers Theater. So we would develop sketches that will promote how municipalities work here and how mental health should be cared for and taken care of. And we would do that in the way of theater, in the way of music. We have to meet people where they are, and a lot of our young people are there in that sector. That's what I would do.
Thank you. Thank you so much for that, Mr. Dawson. And Mr. Fisher as well. Can you tell us a little bit about the topic of legacy? What do you hope to accomplish in your term, and what will be your legacy? It's a two-part question as well.
Legacy. Let's see. First thing I thought about was I already have a legacy in the city of Compton. As I drive down the streets every day, especially when I drive home, I think about the new housing community over here, Montage and Edgemont. I was 19, the youngest person working on that development when it was just a field. So I had that opportunity. So every time I drive home, I remember all the hard work we put in at City Hall to make sure that housing project, was developed. A lot of people in the city and around the city said Compton would not be able to afford those homes in the city. Nobody will buy those homes in Compton. And folks started buying, those homes were actually all sold before they were completely built. And so my legacy will continue to be that in the city. We will clean our streets. We will find places for our street vendors. Street vending in the second district especially is a huge issue. And if you've driven out at night, going down Thornton or Rosecrans, you see the issues that we're talking about. And I'm not saying that we need to get rid of street vending, but we need to make it a place where we need to find places where we can have street vending safely. We have all these vacant lots in the city. We need to utilize those for street vending and for our homeless in the community. And what was the next part of the question? The next part of the question. Oh, involved in politics, or?
What was the second part of that question?
You?
Oh, the youth in politics. Here it is right here. So what program would you have in place for the Compton youth to get interested in politics, to get them engaged?
I would probably try to form, well, I'm not going to say probably, I would likely form a group like I was a part of when I was 17 years old. That's how I got involved in Compton politics. There was a group that met at Compton College with the 3rd District candidate, Raynard Smith, and it was called the Young Leaders of Compton. And we were able to get our local council people at the time involved with that group, and they mentored us. They made sure that we realized the importance of voting and getting involved and organizing our peers to get out and vote. And to this day, I have a lot of friends that are not interested in voting in politics, but so they rely on me to go vote and we all get in one car or two cars, and we all go vote together, just to make sure that we're using our voices, making sure our voices heard during the election process.
Mr. Fisher, if you would please remain. Thank you for that response. We're going to do this last question for all three, and then we'll wrap it up. So this next question here comes from one of our viewers. The question is, what does the term servant leadership mean to you? Can you tell us about that?
Servant leadership means that you serve in a capacity and at the will of the people that elected you into that position. You don't serve in a position to make it big for yourself or make a name for yourself. And you're really out there with the people and listening to their concerns and implementing their concerns in terms of policy. That's what servant leadership means to me.
Thank you for that response. And now if we can call up Mr. Dawson, please, the last question that we have. What does the term servant leadership mean to you?
It means separating my personal life and personal agenda from the will of the people. It means a people-first mentality, making sure that the lines do not get crossed with communication between my job and what I'm doing for the great people of the city of Compton. It's hard being a leader because you're always on call, but God does prepare you once you're called, and that's what's important. I feel very prepared, but with the people leading the
Thank you so much for that response, Mr. Dawson. Mr. Spicer, if you could, please come up. In a community of 100,000 residents, what does the term servant leadership mean to you?
Putting the community first, serving from your heart, always keeping keeping the community first. It's just simply that answer for me. Just always keeping the community first. I'm sorry if that answer was too short, man.
That answer, actually, no, that's excellent, because then what I would like to do is we're going to go ahead and wrap it up, and I'm glad you're there. Do you have any closing statements that you would like to leave us with? This will be the last opportunity you have to respond to District 2.
My closing statement is simply this, guys. The city of Compton has been dear to my heart my entire life, and you can't fake that. You can only show that, and I've shown that. Again, my history shows that. I don't have to talk about it. I don't have to come up with some nice fancy words for you to believe in the work. I can just point to the resume. I can point to what I've done. I can point to what I've shown you. I can point to my transparency. I can point to my accountability and my follow through. These things can't be compromised because they're actual facts. So voting for me is voting for yourself. I appreciate your time and your efforts for listening to me. I would love to have answer any questions you guys might have individually, and that will be my time here. I appreciate you guys for hosting this event. Thank you guys all for having me. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Spicer, for being here with us. The next closing statement will come from Jace Dawson. If you could please, any closing remarks that you would like to leave the audience with.
For the last couple of months, I've been having conversations with my friends, our neighbors, our family members. And in the midst of these discussions, we've all come to the same agreement that Compton, it is time for a change. It is time that we clean up our cemeteries. It is time that we clean up our streets. It is time that we clean up our finances, and most importantly, City Hall. You all agree that it is time for new blood and new leadership. That's where I come in. Someone with a people-first mentality, putting you first every step of the way. We can hear a lot of talk from those who've been in a position to fix the problems that we're discussing here today, or we can move forward with solving those problems together with a new leader at the helm. It is time. That time is now. I am Jace Dawson, #1 on the ballot, #1 for positive and effective change for the communities here in the city of Compton. Compton, it is time for an upgrade, and I'm asking for your vote to represent you. It will be the honor of my life to represent you from the dais. I love you, Compton. Believe it or not, there is nothing you can do about it. God bless you. Thank you so much for this time this evening. It has been a pleasure.
Thank you. Thank you as well, Mr. Dawson, for taking the time out to be with us here this afternoon. And now finally, the closing statement from Mr. Sky Fisher. What would you like to leave the residents here to understand or know about your campaign?
First, thank you. First, I want to thank you all again for giving me the opportunity to present myself to the block club that are represented here. And I really just want to make sure that everybody gets out to vote. That's the most important thing during this time. Yeah, whether you vote for me, Mr. Spicer, or Mr. Dawson, we all love our community, and I'm not gonna try to convince you to vote either way. I will leave you with this, that I'm the only one with the experience, documented experience, 3-page resume, that has the experience and knowledge to lead on day one once elected. And that's exactly what we need. We don't need anyone going into office having to research, having to figure out the relationships to fix the city. You have to have the will, you gotta have the knowledge, and you have to have the experience, the learned experience, to lead this district and to lead this city. And thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Sky Fisher, for those closing remarks. And now we'd like to move on to say thank you to the candidates, first of all, who came out today. We wish each of you luck on your journey. Thanks to the McMillan Street Block Club for providing the space and the hard work behind the scenes to make this forum possible. Thank you to the District 2 Block Club Coalition for their support and input, which includes Tucker Street. For more information about what's going on in District 2, be sure to follow the McMillan Connection and Tucker Street Block Clubs on Instagram and Facebook. And now as we move to dismiss, there's a couple of reminders for you residents. As we conclude, this forum will be translated into Spanish and uploaded into the social media this evening. A reminder for residents, now is the time for change. We've been waiting for this change, but it can't happen without your vote. So I urge you